Hello everyone, welcome back. Today's tutorial will be a little different than the other ones. Today I will model, shade, light, and animate everything you see on the screen. So if you like motion graphics and low poly worlds, this is just for you. So without further ado, let's start. I will start with the island. So let me change my layout to model so we will have more view and turn off that save frames. I will start with cylinder, change the segments to 6, and we will need no height segments. Then I can switch to top view and create duplicates of that cylinder, but this time I'm gonna scale them randomly. Also, I will turn on ambient occlusion so we will get a better view. Then we can change their position to make more flat surface. Okay, this is gonna be enough for now. Then I will create a plane. So we will see our sea level. Let's make it big by scaling that. I'm gonna put them into a one group and rename that to island. Now I will model a lighthouse. This is gonna be really simple. I'm just gonna duplicate that cylinder by pressing Ctrl and move. I will put it out of that group though, and I'm gonna put it into a group lighthouse. So for the cylinder, instead of 6, I will go with 8. Make it editable. Make the top polygons smaller. For the base, let's create a loop cuts. Make a loop selection and extrude these polygons slightly. I will switch to front view and make these points flat by scaling them to 0. And we can lower them to the floor. For the top, let's extrude these one more time. This time I'm gonna scale them. One more time. That looks okay. I am gonna make an extrude inner. Extrude this. Now I can select that point and move that up. But I want the selling a separate object, so I will split this, go back to the original one and delete these polygons. I will extrude this with caps on. Maybe we can do it slightly bigger. And I'm gonna scale this, but I will lock the Y. So scale won't affect the Y axis. Now I want to add little windows. So I will create these loop cuts. And actually I should separate that part as well. Select these. Right click, split, go back to original one and delete. So I will get these loop cuts and make an extrude, then delete. I will select these one more time. I will include the inner polygons, invert the selection, then delete. Let's delete that as well. So since our center axis right in the center of the world, I can easily use a cylinder with radial mode. So if you remember, we had 8 segment cylinders. So if I put 8 here and set it to 0, I will get same shape. Color is a little off, so let's turn that off. That should be enough for now, since we are gonna look at from a distance. This is not very important. Now let's add some details. I will select these, split, and make these loop cuts. I will only need these two, then I can invert and delete. I will try to create some kind of circular shape. Now I can extrude these polygons. Okay, switch to model mode. Also, this one has its axis right in the center of the world, which means that I can use cloner with radial mode easily. Or instead of creating a new one, I'm just gonna duplicate that, delete the one inside that, and put that into that new cloner. I will scale this cylinder slightly. Maybe we can scale the polygons as well. Select them all. Since we lock the Y, that scale will not affect the height. Actually, let's set the radius to 0 because I will make another cloner out of this. This time I'm gonna select that, split, and make a loop cut 2 times actually. Invert the selection, delete. I will add, let's see, 3 maybe. No, let's make it 5. And I'm gonna lower these. Maybe we can add more depth. I'm gonna select them all and scale them. I will change my modeling axis to normal so I can scale them along the normals. Okay, that should be enough. Let's give some thickness. Can lower it. Then, as I did before, I will clone the cloner and delete each side and put this one in. So I will lower them more. Okay, for now that should be enough. This time I will make a little entrance for the lighthouse. Let's add a loop cut so I can extrude that polygon, but I will change my orientation back to normal. Press Ctrl and extrude. Now we need to deal with these bottom polygons. Why don't we just delete them, then create new ones? But I am gonna change my orientation to world. Scale them to 0 on the Z. Let's solo that. I will add a loop cut here and delete these ones so I can merge these points. I can close the bottom polygon. Now let's scale these polygons. Change it to normal. And that one. Now I can slide it down. Let's slide it down and create a door. I will create first a loop cut right in the center. If you press Shift, we can bevel this with 0 subdivision, another loop cut, and simply extrude this polygon for the roof. First, let's average that edge, slide it down, then deselect, Select one more time and move it back where it was. Select the polygons, split. I'm gonna scale them slightly, and we can do that on these edges as well, and some thickness. Okay, that should be enough for the lighthouse. I will change the axis of that group of the lighthouse so I can scale it and position it easily. Let's enable edge snap and move it to the very top, bottom. Now I can scale it, but remember the turn of the lock of the Y. While we are here, let's make some adjustments, such as I want that to be larger. Now I want to lock my view with the camera. Let's create a camera. And for the focal length, 55 is always a good start. That looks fine. So from now on, I can start to add details based on that view. And I will do that with starting with trees. Let's create simple trees. This time I will start the cube. Scale it. Make it editable. Duplicate that 3 times. Select them all, right click, connect objects, and delete. Press Shift, add a taper. And let's give some strength. Okay, that should be enough. Let's apply that deformer, right click, current state object, and delete that one. Select the bottom polygon, make an extrude inner, and extrude that polygon. Now we will need to distribute that tree. I'm gonna do that with scatter pen tool. Actually, before doing that, let's place that tree. Okay, that looks fine. Now I will switch to scatter pen tool. First, let's see what we get. Okay, that looks good, but I want more density. So let's play with spacing. Sorry, not spacing. Object spacing. Let's see what happens with 1 centimeters. Looks really good. Now I will go to scatter, enable edit mode so I can select the trees individually and make some fine details such as rotating and maybe scaling them. Actually, let's do the scale with place tool. Select the tree, then just scale it. It's going to automatically place it right on the cylinder. Can also change their position. But make sure that you don't select base object like the cube 2. If you select and scale that, it's going to affect them all. You need to select the instances. I will select the scatter one more time and select scatter pen. I will add more. Switch back to place tool and play with the trees. Actually, I'm gonna change the view So I will get more of the trees. Something like that would be enough. I will rotate the lighthouse. Now I'm gonna model our little and cute duck. I will start with the cube. It should be right here. I will rotate it, scale it. Now I'm gonna need some duplicates. To do that, I will use cloner, of course. Change it to linear. We want to clone them on the X. So to set Y to 0 and increase X. So I change my camera view. So I will press Ctrl Shift and Z to go back. It looks like we need to scale the cubes. Change X to something like, I don't know, 6 or 5.5. And we may add the last one. Let's higher these. Actually, I can select them all except camera and plane, and I can lower these. Now I'm gonna duplicate that cylinder, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, scale it. Come on, I have changed my camera view one more time. I'm gonna undo that a few times and go to perspective view. So I will increase my count to 7 so I can duplicate that to that one. Select them all, press Ctrl and duplicate. I will select them all, Alt G, and rename to duck. Select them all and lower these. Now I will create a path starting from the house to the dock. It's gonna be a rock path, kind of. Now I'm gonna Ctrl C, Ctrl V, that cylinder, scale it, and put it somewhere around here. It's not very important. Maybe we can lower the height. I will select scatter pen one more time. First thing first, I need to lower my radius because the object is very small. And let's lower the object spacing to 0.2 maybe, and let's try that. Okay, that looks fine, but we need more of them. So I will change my count to something like 20 or 40 maybe. I will add more randomness. So I'm gonna add 10 to rotation. Maybe we can add 10 to the Z. Okay. Now let's add some scale randomness. I'm gonna set it to minimum scale to 50 maybe. Yeah. Now I will start from here all the way down to the port. But I believe that my radius is too big. Let's make it 5. Okay. Switch back to place tool. Go to scatter, enable edit mode, and play with these rocks. Okay, that should be enough. I will group them two racks. This time I will create simple racks, cube, scale that. I will add segments, press shift, add a smoothing deformer. Select the cube one more time. This time I will add displacer deformer. Go to shading, add a noise. I will select something more interesting, like this one. I will change the space though because I'm gonna change the scale of that cube. So if I change it to 2D, the scale won't affect the texture. I mean the displacer. I will make it bigger, like 500. I can select displacer one more time and I will change the height. One last thing, select the cube, add a remesh. Change it to triangles and lower it to something like 10 maybe. If you don't like the shape, you can go to displacer, noise, and change the seed. For example, this one looks more like a rack. I will change my coordinates to world, so it's gonna be much easier to move and scale these. Now I'm just gonna duplicate these, rotate, scale, and change the seed of the noise. All right, I think these are gonna be enough. We can add them later as much as you want. For now, I'm gonna stop here and make them closed. Select them, make a new group. Rocks. I will need one more thing though. You see that these rocks have some smoothing on them, but overall we have this, this low poly look. I mean sharp edges. So I will look for all the cubes. I'm gonna search for cube. So it's gonna list all the cubes. I will select all these Phong tags and set my Phong angle to 0. I can lower that group to here. Then we have this plane. Actually, this is gonna be C. Let's rename that. Also, I'm gonna put a transparency material. So you're really gonna see the inside. So it's gonna be good to have an underworld. To do that, why don't we just Control C and Control V that cylinder, make it longer, maybe smaller. I will add cloner, change mode to honeycomb array. We need to change orientation. Play with the sizes. They are not gonna match though. I should change my rotation like 30. Yeah, something like that. Also, they can intersect. It's not gonna be much important. We will need more than 10. Let's start with the 50-50. So it's too long. I will make it 30. Let's look through the camera. Okay, maybe 60 to 40. I will add a random effector. I will change random mode to noise, so we will get a more uniform shape. I will change my space to UV. For the scale, let's go with the 25. For the parameters, you can lower X and Z. I am only interested with the Y. Maybe we can add some randomness to the scale. So if I look through my camera, I will lost my island. So why not we move that? I'm gonna slightly move it on the Z so you can, because you can see we have an empty space over here. Okay, let's enable plane or the sea. So these are too high. Let's go to random and lower these. But I'm gonna keep them. They're gonna look like small islands. So that part is too empty. I'm gonna duplicate that cylinder we use for the cloner, and it should be somewhere here. I'm gonna move it over here. And I'm gonna create my own islands. Now we got that spot one more time. I will just duplicate this to cover here. Okay. Select them all, group them, and say underworld. I'll change that color of the cloners. Now I'm gonna model a little bot. I will do that with a cube, solo that, and I will get out of the camera, make it editable, move that polygon, and a loop cut right in the center, move that edge, another loop cut, so that we can select the bottom polygons and scale them. We will not need these. Select them all and extrude. For the inside, I can split that polygon, scale that, extrude, duplicate it one more time. Maybe we can lower this. That should be enough for the bot. Select them all, connect objects, and delete. That's all for that. I will turn off solo. This is a giant bot, so we need to scale it. Now let's give some animation to that bot. To do that, you should see your timeline. So I'm gonna switch back to standard layout. Select the bot. So I believe that that random effector is moving because we set animation speed to 100. Let's set it to 0. Okay. And I'm gonna turn off cloner for now. It's good to enable safe frames now. So for the bot, let's rotate it and move it over here. It's gonna come from here. But before making any keyframes, I will press Shift and Control and D. Set my FPS to 25. Now I can keyframe. Select positions and rotations. Keyframe. And at the frame 50, I'm gonna move the bot over here. And keyframe one more time. Let's play that. Perfect. Of course, it's not gonna be enough. I'm gonna enable a open up timeline, top sheet, and lock it over here. So first thing first, I want start animation to be linear. So I'm gonna move them like that. For the ending, I'm gonna click here, easies, so that I can play with the left value. I will set it to something like that. That way, the ending will be so much smoother. Now I want to add some rotation. When the bot gets closer to the dock, so obviously this is not what we want, but actually we can use that to add some, shaking. But for now, I am just interested in the edge. So let's say that it start to rotate on frame 13, and at the very end, it becomes something like that. Now I need to change X and Y. So it's going to be much closer to the dock. I'm going to select these two for the rotation and say easy, easy. And I will move the first movement. So it's going to start early, or we can do that from here. Everything looks perfect, except that it's too fast. I mean, it looks like a drift. So I'm gonna select them all and scale them up to the frame 75. If this is not enough, you can set it to 100 frames, which is per second. I will select X, Y, and Z position and increase that left value. So the ending will be much and much smoother. Yeah, I like that. I can unlock that. Are we done? No, of course. I will add more to the scene. And it's going to be about that sea. I will affect a wave to the bot, I mean, on the surface of the sea. The first thing I should make my sea or plane smaller, but we shouldn't see the border. Something like that should be enough because we will need a lot of subdivisions. I mean, even 100 will not be enough. For a good start, I will start 200. Select C, Shift, add a plane deformer used for the cloners. But when you change their deformation to polygons, you can use them as well on the objects. You can see the effect right away. I will go to fall off and put that bot into that fall off. So you will see that the C object will be affected. Something is wrong though. I mean, Y is not true. We should play with the Z. Something like 5 maybe, or a good start. Now we have the bot. I'm gonna keep that as points, but I'm gonna lower the radius to 5. I will add freeze below the bot and set my bot to add. So for the freeze, I want average. Now I'm gonna go to frame 0, clear the freeze and play it to see what we got. Okay, not bad, but I will add another thing over the bot. It's gonna be delay. I will change its type to spring and maybe something like 25. Yeah, looks perfect. I will set it to 90%. The last thing, I'm gonna add another freeze, set it to add, and with this one, I want to kind of create a wave coming from the bot. I will set it to grow. Let's go to the frame 0, clear the freeze. I think we need to also clear the first freeze. Yes. Now enable that and play it. So this is, of course, too much. So let's lower it to 50 maybe. I will slightly increase that to 55. Yeah, something like that. Maybe we can try 53. So you can see that since we have such a low resolution on that plane, you may get some old shading, normal shading issues. So it's not going to be smooth, but we can select our C and add a subdivision surface. It's going to be too much though. So I'm going to set them to 1. That should be okay. Or if that makes you too slow, you can go to C and you can manually add these. Now let me turn on the cloner and start on working on shading and lighting. First thing, I'm going to change it to Octane renderer, my render engine. Now I can open up live viewer window and lock it over here. Let's open up render settings. First thing, I'm going to change my GI mode to pet tracing. This is going to give us the most realistic results. Then I'm going to lower this. At the end, we can higher them up. For now, this is going to be enough. Let's hit render. Lock the view. First thing, I'm going to create an Octane planetary light. This is going to be just for a diffuse light, so it's not going to be much visible. Let's rotate the north offset. I don't want to see the light much. I just want it to affect the background. It's going to look really good when I apply a reflective shader on the sea. Now let's create our main light. It's going to be an area light. But instead of area light, I will select the lighthouse, then select area light, targeted area light. Now we can move all light. Obviously, this is too much. Let's lower that to something like 50 maybe, or 40. I think it's on the right side too much. Maybe something like that. The scatter object should be non-editable. So I will look for these scatter objects, select them all and turn off edit mode. Now you should see them. Now I will let Octane come and attack to my camera. First thing, let's add some depth of fields. So in normal situations, 0.5 will be enough. But since we are too away from the scene, it's not going to be enough. I will make something like 20. It's going to be unrealistic, but I think in that case it's going to work. 10 maybe. And let's pick a focus point. Now we can enable camera imager and increase the exposure and give some highlight compression. And I forget to add some colder look. I mean, I'm going to increase my temperature to colder values. What else can we add? Of course, bloom power. If we have Octane, you are going to use that. Maybe too cold. Let's lower that. Okay, for lighting, I think this is going to be enough. Now we can focus on the shadings. I will create my first material, create Octane diffuse material. Mostly I will use diffused materials, except for the sea, I believe. You'll see that. I'm going to duplicate that one. I will use mostly green colors, not too saturated though. Something like that. I'm gonna apply that to the main island. I'm gonna apply that to the island. Yeah, not bad. Duplicate that one. For the trees, I'm just gonna darken it. Go to trees and apply that to the trees. You will see that that's gonna change in the view, in the render view. That's because you need to apply that to the cube. Also, we have this underworld. I will turn off the sea. And let's see, where are they? Yes, cloners. I'm going to apply that to the cloner. But they are going to be all the same color. So I want to give some randomness. So I will apply that material to the cylinder, then duplicate that one and apply the darker green to the second cylinder. If you want one color to be dominant, you can duplicate that one. For example, I can duplicate the lighter one, so the lighter color will be more dominant. I don't think you're gonna need that. Then we have these little islands. I will assign them randomly. Turn on C. I will quickly make a material for the rocks. Let's make it something like gray without no color. Rocks. Again, don't assign the material to the scatter but to the cylinder. These are not instances, so I can assign that to the group. Now I am gonna get out of that camera and I will add two loop casts to the lighthouse because they have this kind of stripes texture on them. So I'm gonna select that loop, and that should be enough. I will make loop selection 2 times. Actually, that should be higher. Okay, while we have these selections, I'm gonna duplicate that one. I'm gonna make it more red. Right click and apply. Let's check that. Yeah, not bad. Now I want to create another greenish material, but this time I'm gonna make it more brown. Something like that. Let's get out of that camera one more time. I'm gonna assign this new material to these ones, and that one. This is gonna be roof. Then we have these cloners and these cylinders. I will just say right click, apply. For the cylinders, I don't need to assign them one by one. If I put it on the group, it's going to assign them automatically. Actually, we don't have to put that either. Then we have the door. Let's see what we got. Okay, not bad. Maybe too dark. And let's not forget the boat. Okay, everything looks fine. Now let's create the last material. This is gonna be for the sea. So for the color, I'm gonna make something blue, but it's gonna be dark. I will change its type to glossy and give some roughness like 0.1. We want that material to be shiny, so 2 for the index will be good. And the last thing, actually I should show you while I'm doing that. I'm gonna assign that to the C. And the most important one will be the opacity. Just lower that so we will see the underworld. There's another option. You can create a specular material and assign that to. Actually, that one looks better, but it's gonna take too long to render. Another thing, we should create something for the dock. It should stand on something. I will add more details to the C. I will do that with a displacer deformer. Select the C, press Shift, and select displacer. Go to shading, select noise. I will change my noise type to wavy turbulence. So you see that it's gonna be too much. Actually, it's like it's raining, but we don't want that. I will scale the noise. Yeah, 500 looks nice. Maybe we can lower the height because we have another displacer kind of plane effector. Actually, let's stop the render and play the animation. We can see that our wave animation with the plane effector is not much visible because the height of that displacer is too much. Let's make it something like 2 or 3. Also, I am gonna animate that. It's 1. Let's see if it is too much. Actually, I'm gonna stop the plane effector. It's gonna be much faster. Yes, that animation is too fast. I'm gonna make it 0.5. Turn on the plane effector one more time. I will go to freeze and clear that. You can see that it's on the viewport. Now I want to make some fine adjustments to the light. So select the Octane light, area light, and I want it to be more on the left. I will lower the power because it's too much. It's casting too sharp shadows. Let's make it 20. I'm gonna get my brightness from the exposure from the camera. Let's go to camera imager and increase the exposure. Another thing, I'm gonna take back what I did with the temperature. I'm gonna make it warmer so that it will kind of sunset. Now, if you excuse me, I will quickly add some small details, such as trees. These are really empty. I will make these and come back shortly. Okay, now I will make my final addition to my scene. It's gonna be a camera animation. So let's try to do that. First thing, make sure that this is 25. Go to camera and select these rotation and positions. Keyframe these on the frame 0. Let's go to the last frame. I will select the lighthouse so that my camera will target that. And I'm gonna slightly rotate the camera. Maybe we can zoom a little. Then go back to camera and keyframe these one more time. To make the viewport faster, I am gonna turn off these. Not bad, but I will make the start of the animation of the camera linear. So let's select these and move them back. Actually, this is not the best way, but it's the fastest. Okay, now some camera shake, animation tags, rate, enable rotation. I will make them so low that because it may shake too much. Let's try that. Yes, they are shaking too much. Let's lower this. Still too much. Maybe our frequency is too much. Let's make it 1. Everything looks perfect. But before hitting the render, I will make a preview render. I would highly suggest you to make that before any render. So this is basically render the viewport in real time. So everything looks fine. Then I will say, okay. Okay, here we go. Let's play that. To me, it looks perfect except here. So somewhere around here, we can't see the background. You will not probably notice that, but I want to make sure that I will cover that. So open up the option one more time. I will select the position of the camera, especially the X, then go to QR mode. I'm gonna change it slightly until you don't see it. Now let's check the render settings. Actually, I will need a denoiser. Go to camera imager and enable that. Then go to render settings, Octane render, and click that. Use the noise B to pass. Other than that, 512 will be enough for now. Actually, we will higher our resolution. So 512 will not be enough. To make sure, let's render. Okay, if we check the denoised image, I see no mistake or error, but to make sure, we should render all of them. So I'm gonna keep that and hit render, and I will see you when I am done with the renders. Render is done. The only thing I have changed is the depth of fields. I lowered it to 5 centimeters because the bot was out of focus. So that was it, everybody. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, just ask in the comments. I read them all. And I'll see you in the next stories. Bye.